Good morning. It's time for Granny Shares the Bible again. I'm going to start sharing in chapter 32 of Genesis. And it says, And Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. Oh, surprise, surprise. After Laban came and finally left everything with Jacob, the Bible says the angels of God met with Jacob. And let's look at, it has some references here. Let's look at those. Psalm 91 and 11. Just to look at what they reference here. Sometimes in your reference Bible, it's interesting to look at a reference. In Psalm 91 and 11, it says, For he shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee in all thy ways. And then Hebrews 1 and 14. Let's look there. It's over in the New Testament, of course. You know, one thing I really recommend to everybody is memorizing the books of the Bible in order. They are, it helps you to find scriptures when you need to. Hebrews 1 and 14 says, Are they not all ministering spirits, sent forth to minister for them who shall be heirs of salvation? Are they not all ministering spirits sent forth to minister for them who shall be heirs of salvation? So that sounds good, doesn't it? It sounds like God sends his ministering angels to minister for them who shall be heirs of salvation. There's times when we need the angels of God to minister for us in order for us to come into that inheritance of our salvation. Oh, so here's Jacob. He's needing these angels, obviously. And Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. And when God saw them, he said, This is God's host. And he called the name of that place Mahanaim, two hosts or camps. So he saw two hosts or two camps of angels. Isn't that amazing? God was really working for Jacob, helping Jacob when he was coming out of Padan Aram and back into his own country. And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother unto the land of Seir, the country of Edom. So let's talk just a little bit more about those angels. It doesn't say how long he stayed there. It doesn't say what they did or what they said to him. It doesn't say if the others in the camp saw him, if Rachel and Leah and all them saw them. It doesn't say anything more about that. So it sounds like that the Lord didn't want us to know, doesn't it? If you ever run into something that it just doesn't explain, you can pretty well think and know that God just didn't want you to know. Because there's lots more that could have been said about this. I was thinking about my husband being in heaven and how God told him he could put the King James Bible under his arm and preach all over heaven, and thinking about things that we don't know in the Bible. We can understand a lot. God shows it to us and gives it to us to understand a lot. But there's things like this that my husband could go across heaven and say, This is what was seen. This is what Jacob saw. This is what they told him. This is how long they stayed. And this is who else saw the angels. I mean, there's a lot could be known about this. And maybe in heaven, those kind of things will be revealed and will be very, very wonderful for us to know. So Jacob had to be prepared, obviously, to meet Esau. And this is what happened. He was going back in the country. Esau had planned to kill him the last time he knew anything about it. You know, the communication between where Jacob and Esau lived and up there in Padan Aram was nil. They didn't hear from each other. So here's him coming back into the country for the first time. And he sent messengers before him to Esau his brother unto the land of Seir, the country of Edom, and he commanded them, saying, Thus shall you speak unto my lord Esau. Thy servant Jacob saith thus, I have sojourned with Laban, and stayed there until now. And I have oxen and asses, and flocks, and men servants, and women servants. And I have sent to tell my lord that I may find grace in thy sight. So where did he send him? How far did he go? How far did they go? He went to Mahanaim, and there. Let me look in this atlas. It didn't say where. They didn't really know where Mahanaim actually was. It just put a place there and said, with a question mark, Mahanaim. Let's go back here, where it's Jacob's time. Jacob. This atlas is pretty good because it tells Jacob's travels with Rachel. Okay. Jacob in Mahanaim is a long way back from Padan Aram, almost back in between the Sea of Galilee and the Salt Sea, the Dead Sea, right between there, on the other side of Jordan. Now, down where Esau was, and down near Beersheba, that was a ways. Let's see, it was like 30, 60, probably maybe 110, 115 miles away from where Esau was. That wasn't easy to travel that distance, but he sent messengers to him. So it probably took a while. They were camped there for a while, imagine, waiting to hear from Esau. And the messengers returned to Jacob, so back that 100 miles or so, saying, We came to thy brother Esau, and also he cometh to meet thee, and 400 men with him. Now, I know the rest of the story, but I'm telling it from Jacob's point of view, and my mouth hung open. Why? He was coming with 400 men. What for? Bringing 400 men. It only looked like mischief, didn't it? Only looked like he was determined to kill Jacob. Verse 6 said, He's coming to meet thee, and 400 men with him. And then verse 7, Then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that was with him, and the flocks and herds and the camels, into 2 bands. Now all he knew was right behind the messengers came Esau with those 400 men. So he got busy and divided his people and flocks and herds and camels and all of them into 2 bands, and said, now that's also interesting too, that he had called the place Mahanaim 2 hosts or camps, and then he divided this into 2 camps. And it might have been that he was dependent on those angels to protect those camps, those 2 bands of his people and his sheep and camels and everything. So perhaps that was to help Jacob when he saw them, to help him know that he had some guard around him from Esau. So he said, If Esau come to the one company and smite it, then the other company which is left shall escape. So it didn't sound like he was planning on the angels helping him, but let's just go on. And Jacob said, O God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, the Lord which saidst unto me, Return unto thy country and to thy kindred, and I will deal well with thee. I am not worthy of the least of all the mercies and of all the truth which thou hast showed unto thy servant. For with my staff I passed over this Jordan, and now I am become two bands. Deliver me, I pray thee, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he will come and smite me, and the mother with the children. And thou saidst, I will surely do thee good, and make thy seed as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude. So Jacob was planning on God helping him, and asking God right then to help him. And he said, I reminded him, I'm reminding you of my promise. I'm reminding you of your promise to me. And that was that thy seed will be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude. So you can't let these children be killed. They're my seed. And he lodged there that same night, and took of that which came to his hand a present for Esau his brother, 200 she-goats, and 20 he-goats, 200 ewes, and 20 rams, 30 milk camels with their colts, 40 kine, and 10 bulls, 20 she-asses, and 10 foals. Wow, that was just a present. Was he a big company? He sure was. And he delivered them into the hand of his servants. Every drove by themselves, and said unto his servants, Pass over before me, and put a space betwixt drove and drove. And he commanded the foremost, saying, When Esau my brother meeteth thee, and asketh thee, saying, Whose art thou, and whither goest thou, and whose are these before thee? Then thou shalt say, They be thy servant Jacob's. It is a present sent unto my lord Esau, and behold, also he is behind us. And so commanded he the second and the third, and all that followed the drove, saying, On this manner shall you speak unto Esau when you find him. And say ye moreover, Behold, thy servant Jacob is behind us. For he said, I will appease him with the present that goeth before me, and afterward I will see his face. Peradventure he will accept of me. Do you remember that Cain and Abel, that when God spoke to Cain about Abel, he said that his desire shall be unto thee? If you remember in Genesis, when he talked to Cain after he had given his offering and it wasn't accepted. Remember what he spoke to him about Abel? He said, If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted, and if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door. And unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. So it's again happening with Jacob and Esau. It's happening as it did with Cain and Abel, that Jacob was desiring, even though Jacob was going to rule over him, even though Jacob was going to rule over him according to what God had said, that the elders shall serve the younger. Even though that happened, when Esau was angry with Jacob, Jacob's desire was to appease him and not be destroyed by him as Cain destroyed Abel. It's a lot alike, because Jacob and Esau were also looking for the Lord's favor. And the Lord's favor was upon Jacob, not on Esau. And the blessing had come from the Lord's favor. So it's a lot alike. But Jacob is trying to appease Esau. So went the present over before him, and himself lodged that night in the company. Now, I know the messengers probably knew how far back Esau was, and knew that he wasn't going to be able to come that night, but was heading in that direction. And so when Jacob went over before him, himself lodged that night in the company, and he rose up that night and took his 2 wives and his 2 women servants and his 11 sons, and passed over the ford Jabbok. And he took them and sent them over the brook and sent over that he had. So Jabbok is right there. It's hooked into the River Jordan. It's close to the River Jordan, and that's where he was camping by that brook. And he sent all of his wives and his women servants and 11 sons, all of the people that were with him. He sent them over the brook, and it says, and sent over that he had, everything that he had. And then at verse 24, this is a very wonderful spot in God's Word. It's something that we know happened that was amazing. And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. All right, I'm going to leave it there. Tomorrow we're going to talk about that. God bless you.